So the thing is, I come from a divorced family. My parents divorced when I was around 6. My parents remarried pretty quickly after. Because of that, there was a hyper competition between my two fathers. My stepfather and my father hated each other, and it caused my father to do whatever he could to sign me up for sports, get me into more competition, so he could spend more than just his every other weekend with me. So he could be coach for the teams and do more stuff with me. My
So it
stepfather at the same time.
sounds like divorce was really bad then, and it
So
sounds
no,
like it
so
would have
I'm
been
giving
optimal
you.
if your parents stayed together.
Well, if you would let me finish, then you'd understand. What I'm trying to explain is that my stepfather also taught me hunting, taught me how to drive race cars, taught me a whole different skill set. So I was able to have two different skill sets from two different fathers that were both six-figure men and killed it in life in every aspect. And I had two mothers that were actually pretty excellent mothers too. So because of that, I actually got it as a cheat code. Now, there are people who have it the horrible way whenever a divorce happens. The thing is we know that bad things happen to
So
in
people,
society.
I
Like,
don't
and so
care.
we need to
Listen,
find the best
stop,
solutions to these things. We need
stop.
to find the best
I
solutions to these things.
don't care about your anecdotes. I care about the argument. Are you proposing that all people should have two moms and two dads?
No, perfect. No, good point. So, who do you give advice to? What age of men do you give advice to, Andrew?
I don't give advice to men.
You don't give advice to men. You don't
No,
give Tradcon prescriptions for anything. You don't think that it's
I
the
give
best for Andrews
society-wide
to
political
become a religion?
prescription. I give society-wide political prescriptions to things, but I don't do advice giving. I'm not one of these red pill PUA teachers who writes some kind of fucking program and tries to sell it online. I'm a political commentator and a political pundit and a political debater. Right now, you're talking about a political issue, which is the political issue of marriage. And if you want a prescription for that issue, I want to actually hear what the prescription is, because you're saying that men shouldn't get married at all, which seems insane to me. And I haven't heard a single argument out of you for how you would even accomplish this as a prescription, one. And two, all you do is kind of give me anecdotes. So you start off with an anecdote of my two dads and my two moms. Like, well, that's
Yeah,
great.
because there's nuance, and even if we were giving prescriptions to the wide variety, this is what I'm talking about for in general. Because in general, the marriage rate is low. In general, the divorce rates are high. In general, 80% of women initiate divorce.
Yeah, those are all
So,
is statements. Yeah. So what's your ought statement? What ought to
so what?
happen?
Yeah, so what I had a child outside of wedlock, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it was a horrible thing. I'm still raising her perfectly. I have 50-50 with my the mother of my daughter. The thing is, we have all these negative connotations towards these things, and we think that all this stuff is so bad. I'm a broken man from a broken family, but trauma builds men and it destroys women. So I don't understand why it's a bad thing for men to choose a certain
So
route
you're
whenever trauma
wait,
men.
this is I don't even think you realize how stupid what you're saying is. You're saying that because trauma builds up men, shouldn't all men then have to go through a divorced family because it's going to build them up like it did for you?
No, I'm saying that there's a high percentage chance that that's naturally going to happen to a man. So we need to focus on the solutions and not crying about it, because it's feminine to cry and complain
If
about things.
it's a high
It's very
percentage
feminine to complain
chance,
about. So if you
yeah.
come up
So
with a solution for it, that's
yeah,
masculine.
if it's
But
a high
complaining about it,
percentage
that's feminine.
chance that this is going to happen, don't you want to go out of your way to have prescriptions so that it doesn't happen, rather than going out of your way to have prescriptions for what you consider an inevitable
I
will
told you
happen?
religion is the best prescription, but in a post-marriage society, when people aren't religious and women are sleeping around and we don't all go to church and we're not all perfect, then you have to think of other solutions. You have to figure out, well, if
There's
it's
never
not going
been
to
a
go that way, what is the
time,
best way to do it that way?
dude, there's never been a time where people have been perfect or that society has been perfect. You think, for instance, that when people are getting married during wartime, that's perfect, or when people are getting married during times of famine, that's perfect? That's insane
Andrew,
to
you're
me.
trying to tell me the internet age, the last 10, 15 years, hasn't drastically changed the world? You're living in a bubble. What are you talking about?
What does that have to do with anything I just said?
What I'm saying is that because it has drastically changed in the last 10, 15 years, it takes drastic changes in the sexual marketplace. We're in a post-marriage society. It's not the best for anybody to be getting married. It's not the best for
You
the
just
man
got done
or the
saying that it was the best thing in the world for the religious to get married. Now
when
you're saying
everybody's
again it's
sleeping
not good for
around. It's a
anybody to get
hedonistic
married.
world. When it's a hedonistic world where everybody's sleeping around, everybody is hurt. Do you disagree with me
Yeah,
that
but why wouldn't the
not most people are
prescription,
traumatized today?
that doesn't make any sense. So why wouldn't the prescription instead be to move towards policies, prescriptions for society where people were less hedonistic, rather than just say, this is the way it's got to be, fellas. So I guess we're just going to have to knuckle. Well, I guess we're just going to have to knuckle under and deal with the fact that society sucks.
I'm the only person in this space that talks about solutions. I'm the only one who actually teaches guys how to go get on the board of cities, of their city and their local government. What do you mean? I push for this more than anybody. There's not one person in the
What are you pushing for?
guys into politics, so then we can actually change things, get their political career started, getting their career started.
Okay, hang on. Let's back up.
Which is more than anybody else is saying to do.
Calm down. Let's back up for a second. Let's back up. Okay. What I'm talking about when it comes to a prescription, you're saying to me, Andrew, society sucks right now for men. I don't disagree, right? Things are unfair for men. I don't disagree. We're moving into a post-marriage world. I don't even disagree with that. It does seem like we're moving more and more in the West towards a post-marriage world. However, if you're talking about prescriptions to these things, don't you want to move it so that we're not in a post-marriage world, so that we do live in a world where men and women can have dynamics again, where men and women can get married again, and where the divorce rates are much lower? Here's an idea for such a prescription, for instance. No-fault divorce. No-fault divorce has drastically increased divorce rates because it gives an incentive for women to get divorced. That would be a good prescription, for instance, to get rid of no-fault divorce so that we had less divorces for these more optimal outcomes you're talking about. Andrew, all you're talking about is just, hey, everybody, accept it and take it and put up with it.
Oh,
Andrew, good luck with, hang on,
Andrew,
let me finish. I'm almost done, and I'll pass it over. Your only prescription is, good luck, welcome to the new world. Here's your 2 dads and 2 moms.
So that's just one thing you heard. But the thing is, 2 things can be right at the same time, Andrew. I can push men into politics to change things while at the same time finding solutions for the shit that we're in right now. That's the problem. Is
so everybody
complains and doesn't actually do action behind.
Give me those solutions. Those are what I care about.
Like I said, if we live in a post-marriage society and say a guy wants to have a child, there are women out here that you're that guy that will still have your child, even if you're not married. There are women out here that will still love you and still want to be with you for the rest of their life without marriage. Just depends how good of a man that you are. And it's a society like today, when guys kill themselves off themselves at 9 times the rate of after marriage, after a divorce, that's a big deal. Men need to protect themselves. Not every man is going to be able to make it through those types of things.
But wait a second.
We need to find solutions.
Like, why? I don't know why you don't understand this. I can agree with those stats and even say that that's true. But then when I look at the root cause would seem to be divorcing. Divorcing seems to be the root cause. So if I have prescriptions,
don't get married.
Hang on, stop. So if I have prescriptions to eliminate that root cause while keeping intact all the benefits of marriage, especially with children, that this would be like no-fault divorce would be one of those causes. There's other causes that I can give you as well that would be very helpful to solving this problem. Mm-hmm. Again, your only prescription here seems to be just accept that this is the world and there's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, you talk out of the other side of your face and say, but I am pushing men to do something. What are you pushing those men to do?
To do exactly what you just said. We can all agree. I'm not that different from you, Andrew. And like I said, like, don't like straw man. I'm saying that both things can be done at the same time, okay? Both things can be done at the same time. You could sit here and push men into politics and do the exact laws that I agree with you on should be changed, while at the same time because we can't just click our fingers and the law is changed, okay? We can't just do that. So because of that, you have to have 2 things. 2 things can be right at the same time. Do you even
know what the process of changing a law is? Could you even tell us what that is?
Do you think that I need to be able to do that for me to be able to push people to make a law change?
I mean, you just got done making this statement that, oh, hey, man, you can't just snap your fingers and change a law. What do you think the process for changing a law is, sir?
It's actually having these types of conversations, but at the highest.
These types of conversations change the laws, huh?
Well,
that's the process.
How are you supposed to change the laws if people don't even know for the best solutions? And if nobody's even talking about those solutions and it's getting viral, that's the problem with the world today. Is nothing
So why don't you just say, no, Andrew, I don't actually know what the process is to change the law.
No, Andrew, I don't even need to know what the process is my point.
That sounds about right.
I don't even need to know.
Yeah. Okay.
If you think that I need to know,
you're going to do both. You're going to do both. You're going to do both of these things at the same time. You're going to do one of these things, both these things at the same time. One of these things you don't even know what the fucking process is. You're just making shit up as you go.
Andrew, if you think that, grandstanding and thinking that you're above somebody because you understand how laws are made, and I can't articulately tell you right
You
now
can't
in like 5
articulate it. It's hard
yeah,
to articulate
sorry.
this stuff,
I'm
isn't
not
it?
I'm not articulate enough to be
Yeah,
able to
one
say
day
it.
you'll be able to articulately tell us how to articulately laws into existence.
Hey man, are you married?
I am.
So everybody probably argues from the point of view that they are, that they're living. And would you want your woman to divorce you? Do you want to be divorced? You want to stay together for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's what you want, then don't you think that telling other men to do something similar, just because it worked out for you, is kind of damaging when we live in a society that that's not how it's working out for other men right now that are younger than you?
No,
Why?
because I want the best prescription for everybody. And when I look at all of the stats and all of the numbers, I see that the gains that men get when they're in these happy marriages, especially if they're religious, are overwhelmingly beneficial, not just to them, because I'm not a hedonist, but to who? I have said this multiple times, the children. You do want to have children in your future society, correct? You actually want to have kids in that society?
Yeah.
And
And
don't
there's a
you
lot
and
of people
you
having
don't you
kids without
think
marriage.
and don't you think it would have been optimal in your situation, even though I understand you had the child outside of wedlock? I'm not judging you for this, but I am saying that if you could go back and have the same child, all things equal, same kid, no distinction at all, but with a woman who you really loved and cared about, and it was just you and her and the child, wouldn't that be your preference?
Of course, but in an
Well,
imperfect
then
world,
you
you
just
have to
conceded the
you have
debate,
to
sir.
have
Sir, you just
solutions in an
conceded the
imperfect world.
debate. You
No, I
just
didn't.
conceded. You did.
No, I've told you at the very beginning of the stream that I agree with all religious prescriptions. I actually teach on my show religious prescriptions
You can't
specifically.
believe in religious prescriptions and then preach hedonism, lunatic.
What you don't understand is that two things can be right at the same time. This is what's so hard for you to understand. I don't know if your brain can't comprehend that you can do one thing while doing another thing at the same time. You can say what is best while also saying that in this society, there's these other options that you can take because you're not going to be perfect. Or if you fuck up, this is what you can do. Because the bottom line is guys aren't living in the same world that we lived in 20, 30 years ago. And we're trying to do the same Disney fairy
Right. So,
tale
well, you know what I
bullshit.
want to
That doesn't
do?
work.
I want to collectivize men so that we can begin to change laws so that we can move back towards a world where relationships function and marriage functions so we can have all the benefits for us, for the marriages, and the most importantly, all those benefits for the children, which, as you conceded 5 seconds ago, if you could go back and have your child with a woman who you loved and you stay together with that woman forever, you would prefer. Why wouldn't we be moving all of our energies towards that world instead of towards a world where we can all be a bunch of hedonist pieces of shit who are just fucking everybody, playing house and being assholes, and at the same time somehow trying to produce these wonderful religious outcomes for people? Don't you understand how stupid that sounds, man?
Do you understand how stupid it is when wait, here, I gotta ask you this. So a girl that goes to church and she has a 20-30 body count, but she's a born again virgin, do you want a guy to marry her? Do you want a guy that's, that has a 2 body count to marry a woman like that?
Uh, do I want a guy who has a 2 body count to marry a woman who has screwed 30 guys? I mean,
Yeah, but she's a
largely,
born again virgin
yeah.
though. She's a
So
good
hang
Christian
on.
woman
So
now. She hasn't done
largely,
that.
stop. I'm going to answer your question. Largely, this would be up to the guy. And within this hypothetical, let's say though, let's assume all things are equal, and we can say this. I'll use the exact same hypothetical back. Assume that you had a woman who had a 30 body count, but was a born again Christian, told you that she was going to live the rest of her life for you and do everything in her power to make you happy, and that she understood that she made these mistakes. Or you had a woman who had a 20 body count, but had none of those fucking values whatsoever. Which one would you take the risk in marrying?
Neither. You find one that's
That's not
younger and
the
doesn't have that.
hypothetical. The hypothetical is bifurcated for a reason in order to probe your logic to find out if it's consistent. If you only had those two choices, which one would you pick?
Obviously the one with the good morals. Even
Right.
if they change.
Right. So what we've established then is that morality is the preference of the day. And so that's what we ought to be striving for.
So will you answer like mine now?
I did answer
Because
yours.
So which one would you? So do you want a guy that has a low body count? We'll just say a low one. We don't have to say two. He just has a low body count to be with a woman who has a 30 body count if she's a born again Christian woman.
If she loves him and she's going to live her life for him and he loves her back and they have a wonderful family together for the rest of their life, that's what reforming is about. That's what
that is literally
about.
Sending men into the fire. That's literally.
How? It's your preference too.
Did that for 30 bodies and then matching her with her social calibration compared to a man that's only been with 3, 4, 5 women. It's not even close to the same. She's going to run laps on him and take full advantage of him. How can you even say that that's okay for men to do that?
So you're asking.
That's why I'm bringing up that's the problem with marriage. Is because you're sending them into the fire if they're going to marry women like that.
Stop spurging. Listen, you're talking about optimals here. Okay. In this particular case, you could make some case it's not socially optimal. Sorry. It's not socially optimal for them to do this. Okay. I can concede that that's true. But then you have to answer this. Are they doing anything immoral?
What do you mean?
Are they doing something immoral?
Like, is the woman doing something immoral?
Or is anybody of these parties doing anything immoral?
Well, no. I'm just saying
I don't fucking care.
You got to understand that telling guys that have a low body count to be with a woman that get married to a woman that possibly is a born again virgin with 30 bodies.
You just said there's nothing wrong with it. You literally just said there's nothing wrong with it.
The people getting married right now is that exact scenario I just said. A guy with a low body count, beta bucks dude, with a woman with a high body count, and she's going to run game on him for the rest of their life.
But there's nothing immoral about that, right?
No, it's just horrible for the guy, and he's going to end up hurt, and he's going to end up the one offing himself 9 times.
So you're saying that guys should do what's in their optimal interest. Okay, but there's nothing inside of this situation which is immoral, correct?
I don't see how that has anything to do with what.
Because again, why is it that you're not striving for the most moral system? Because within the confines of the moral system, we have the best outcomes. And that's what you want is an outcomes-based society. That's what you just said. That's what hedonism is. You want outcomes to be really, really, really good. You already said that you would have the preference of the moral woman, even over the woman who had the lower body count, who had lower morals. So if you don't see anything morally wrong with it, I don't even know why the fuck you're teaching it.
Well, let's change it around then. You said 20 and 30, which is a really stupid number. Honestly, let's say 5. If the girl had 5 but bad morals, I would choose the girl with 5 because you don't understand that most people aren't living a moralistic life today and going to church. So because of that, you understand somebody can be a really good person and not be all crazy about morals. The thing is, a girl can have a low body count, and that's a sign of her having good morals. So if she just has a 5 body count, that's the problem. Is you're assuming that guys have a choice between a 20 and a 30 body count girl. No, they have a choice between a 5 body count girl.
This is great. Actually, this is good. Now we're making progress. So it does sound like you think that if a woman has a lower body count, one of the reasons your preference is towards that woman is because you think that that's a good sign of virtue and therefore morality. Hey, that's great. And if you think so, then you think that it's a moral prescription, Sergio. Do you understand now? You think that this is a moral
I'm just saying that your example was horrible because you put 2 numbers right next to each other. That's why I made mine so broad. I said a 5 body count guy with a 30 body. It makes it.
It wouldn't matter if it's 1 to 2 or 2 to 20.
Oh, trust me, it does. If we look at, I'm sure you've seen the stats.
Not for the purpose of the hypothetical, man.
After 20 bodies, it is a big deal. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen all the stats. After 20 bodies,
but do you realize? Don't you understand that within the confines of the hypothetical, to test the logic, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're going to map it on to like reality, this is what's real. I can concede the point because it doesn't matter if you're mapping it onto a hypothetical to test the logic. You understand the distinction there?
Yeah, but I'm still gonna stand on the fact that you're sitting here trying to say that that it's no difference, or that the morality for a woman with 30 bodies isn't, as long as she's a born again Christian, it's fine. Like, that's good. That's asinine that you even say that like guys are listening to that right now and it's okay to be with a woman like that.
You're not even tracking.
I know, if she's moral. You said if she's moral, right?
No, bro, you said that. When I asked you that question, you said that would be your preference.
No, but then right after that, do we need to rewind the tape, bro?
Yes.
You literally said that it would be okay as long as she's moral for a guy to choose that, or it's up to the guy to choose. You said it would be up to the guy to choose.
It is up to the guy to choose.
But if she's moral, that's a good choice. And no, it's not. She's not moral. Then you can go get a younger woman, five bodies.
So it's immoral. So now, so it's immoral.
It's not that hard. Yes.
So it's immoral.
Okay, yes. If a woman has 30 bodies, okay, and she's a born again virgin, she's not moral, bro. She's just chameleon. She's just a chameleon, okay? So no, you go. I teach guys literally how to go find young women, and the whole reason why is because they don't have high body counts and they haven't had trauma yet.
So hang on. So backing up. So if a woman has a 30 body count and is a born again Christian, your exact words just now were that means she's immoral. However, when this hypothetical is put to you versus a woman who has low moral character as a 20 body count, not a born again Christian, your preference is still the immoral Christian.
Okay, let me explain this to you since it's, and let me dumb it down for you a little bit. So here's the thing. Every study shows after 20 bodies, the woman's fucked, okay? So when you give an example like that really dumb example with 20 and 30, yes, obviously it's basically the same thing because they're both fucked up women. They're both already over 20. That's why I said
you still prefer the one that's a Christian, right?
Because they're both fucked at the end of the day. They're both fucked. They're both screwed.
What makes
one of those?
Okay, see, okay, got it. Stop spurging, bro. You have to stop spurging. Stop spurging. So back to this. This is begging the question: what makes the woman who reforms, becomes the born again Christian, and then refutes her past and says, I no longer want to be this woman, right? I'm no longer going to do these activities anymore. Yes, I fucked up, but I'm not going to do it anymore. Why is she immoral?
Because she should have thought that 15, 20, 25 bodies ago.
So she's currently immoral, even though she has recanted this activity, no longer engages in the activity. She's always, for the rest of her life, immoral because of these things she did before she cleaned up her act and reformed.
If you're somebody that has anything to lose, wouldn't you want to have insurance and make sure check the Carfax, make sure that it's like a good thing on paper? And that's not good on paper. Any man would say that it's not good to be with a woman who had the want to do those.
But this is not my question, though. I just need you to focus on what I'm asking. Why is it that you think this woman is immoral? Morality, as a reference point, they've shrugged off all of this behavior, no longer engage in it. But you just got done telling me this woman is still immoral. Just the fact that she did this at all, she's always immoral. There is no path to redemption. She is forever an immoral human being. Now, do you honestly believe that?
That's not. So this is why I'm going to explain it to you again. So It's a percentage chance thing. If the percentage chance is higher with this woman of divorce, of bad things happening, then you shouldn't give them a chance. I don't care about the morality. I don't care. It's a statistics game. And as men, we need to be looking at those types of things. You can't just go into it blind and thinking, I trust her. It's no big deal. She might have made mistakes in the past, but she's morally good now.
But Sergio, it is about the morality, though, because what you're really focusing on is bad outcomes. And you think bad outcomes are bad. If you think a thing is bad, you think it's immoral. If you think it's good, you think it's moral. That's how that works. So bad, immoral, good, moral. So if you think these things are bad, you think they're immoral. For instance, I think getting a divorce is bad. So do I think getting a divorce is immoral? Yes, right? This is what I'm talking about. Could there be reasons for getting a divorce which are good? Yes. You see what I'm saying? So when you make these kind of bad and good prescriptions, fair enough. Okay. I agree with you that probably you shouldn't be trying to run around and find women who've humped 20 fucking dudes or 30 dudes or 40 dudes or even 10 dudes. Probably far better and far more optimal not to do these things. However, to try to make this kind of bold claim that a woman who reforms, stops those activities, and then wants to devote her life to a man is somehow immoral, that's insane to me. You say, I don't care about the morality, but what we're talking about is morality. When you say thing good, you're saying thing moral.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like I said, men need to protect themselves more now than ever. 9 times the rate of offing themselves. Just when you look at anything, it shows any of the stats, the divorce stats, anything.
You're just NPCing, man. You're just looping and NPCing. We've been over this. Yeah, I've conceded this is true. But this has nothing to do with the current status of the debate. which is we're talking about why it's moral or immoral. There's not, so it really is not immoral for a man to marry a woman who has reformed, shrugged off her past, and no longer engaged in that activity. It's not an immoral thing, is it? You misspoke, and that was incorrect.
I'm not going to sit there and debate over the morality of a whore marrying a dude that she has way more social calibration over and way more advantage over in every aspect of a relationship because of her experience.
So it's immoral for those two people to get married?
No, it's not immoral. It's unsafe. That's
well,
it.
Then what? Then,
I'm not going to sit here and debate you over morality.
You know, what you're doing is quibbling. So all you want to do is you want to say there's the stats favor this. Okay, but I've conceded the stats favor that. So we have to get to the underlying.
Do
you understand that we have to get to the underlying reasoning behind why the stats are doing this? Right? Why are the stats bad? Why are they sloped? Why are these things good? Why are they bad? Are you even prepared to have that conversation?
Because interchangeable monogamy was the rule for most of human history. That's why nothing works. Marriage is not good for men. That's why it never usually ends up working out. Men want to have multiple women, so it's never good for a man to get married. If a man looks more likely,
let's try the interchangeable morality.
It's not good.
Let's start with interchangeable monogamy. Let's clarify this, and then maybe I can pinpoint down on this or hone in on this, because this seems to be something you say a lot. So interchangeable monogamy to Sergio means what?
Multiple relationships within one lifetime, not just one person that you stay with for your entire life. Okay. And you think that this is the historic standard? It was the rule for most of history. Okay. Where? Pre 6,000, 8,000 years ago. That if you
recorded history started 5,500 years ago.
No, I'm saying that if we just look at evolutionary psychology and we just look at what's been found, we can easily find these things. Like there's
evolutionary psychology, huh?
Yeah. Do you not like evolutionary psychology?
Well, it's bullshit. So no.
You don't like evolutionary psychology?
Yeah, it's foundation. Its foundation is completely and totally founded on evolution, right? Evolutionary psychology. You don't
believe in evolution?
No.
Oh, are you a fundamentalist? Well, are you a fundamentalist Christian?
No, I'm an Orthodox Christian.
I mean, it sounds pretty fundamentalist if you don't believe in evolution.
I don't even think you know what fundamentalist means.
Oh, no, I know what it means, but most people are Christians today, and they're actually fundamentalist Christians, but they act like they're all these other different sects. No, you're just a fundamentalist. Anybody who reads the Bible,
so you don't know what a fundamentalist
doesn't believe in evolution is definitely a fundamentalist is somebody who believes that the Earth is only 8,000 years old, or thinks that the dinosaurs were never here, or all that stupid shit.
That's what a fundamentalist is, huh?
A fundamentalist believes the Bible literally, okay, and that's what you're basically doing. It sounds like you don't
that's what a fundamentalist is.
You don't believe in evolution.
You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. But you know what? I'm still going to grant your worldview just for the sake of argument, and ask you again: where do you think these things were going on with interchangeable monogamy or multiple partners, where monogamy was not the order of the day post universal morality, which we've had for 3,000 years?
Yeah, so Homo sapiens go back about 100,000 years. So I would say from 100,000 years ago to about 6,000 and 5,000 years ago, whenever the Torah and everything was pushing everybody into getting married. Yeah, before that, I would say for the most part, it was a lot of interchangeable monogamy. And it was because, like, say your wife or you had like a girl or whatever, and like y'all had a baby, and then the husband goes and gets stomped by a woolly mammoth. Yes, she's going to have to go to another man after that to possibly survive. So yes, interchangeable monogamy was a thing for most of our history because a guy could die from anything. People die from all types of shit.
Even with monogamy, that would be the same thing. So you've always been permitted to remarry after your husband died. Yeah, that would still be interchangeable monogamy. You're still going to another relationship after the first one. So try to understand this, Sergio, because you're leaving this part out, and perhaps you can evolutionarily psychologize it for me. So if we move back to 2,000 years to universal morality, universal ethics, what we find is something very interesting, which is that if we go back 3,000-4,000 years and we look at the records, we find that most men were not able to actually procreate because women have always been the gatekeepers. So what ended up happening was high status men were able to hoard a lot of women unto themselves. You agree that that's true, right?
Yes.
This was the order of the day for a long, long time. What we find, though, that's so interesting is that once the ethics move over to Christian ethics and universal ethics, now there's enough women readily available for all men. When that happens, crime goes way down, society stabilizes, happiness indexes go through the roof, inventiveness goes through the roof, family quality goes through the roof, because now suddenly there's enough women for every man. That sounds like it's highly optimal, even via your evolutionarily psychologizing perspective. Not only that, but try to recognize that if you believe in evolution, which you do, then the pinnacle of your belief is that human beings had to have evolved towards monogamy. We had to have evolved towards it, or we would never make laws or anything else regarding it in the first place.
Andrew, were you listening when I first started my first statement where I said that I agree that everything that was happening from religion and through monogamy and marriage, that it was all a good thing? I know that that's what brought us to this point. I know it's the best thing. I'm saying what is.
Yeah, but we evolved towards it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to also concede the second part of the argument. We must have evolved towards monogamy, or we would not have monogamy.
You're right, but we can evolve right back with the internet turning us into animals.
You can evolve back?
Yes, because the internet has made us. You think the internet makes us smarter people? We have access to more information than ever. And you think that it made us smarter, or do you think it made us dumber with access to more information than ever?
Well, but before you jump the goalpost, I answer your question. But I just want to ask you, you think that we're evolving back?
I think that we are going to take a step back. Not evolving back. We can't evolve backwards. We live in an emergent universe.
So if we evolve so that our nature moved towards monogamy via evolutionary psychology, and we know, looking at the past trends, that when every man is able to have access to women, society is healthy, happier, children are healthier and happier. Why wouldn't you try to be moving towards that as opposed to anything else? Wouldn't that be your highest priority?
It's almost as if we could do two things at one time, like I've said a dozen times to this show
already. But you can't do two things at once if one conflicts with the value structures of the other, because one of them necessarily is going to be wrong. So it contradicts your modalism. You have like this bizarre modal model. It works like this, okay? You say, listen, right now, for the sake of society, because it's all fucked up, we should act like complete hedonist animal pieces of shit and as immoral as possible, so that we can continue to push towards a moral society. Do you see how that sounds contradictory to everybody who hears it? You're saying all the values that I want, all the things I want to strive for, all the things that make society good that we should be moving for, fuck them. We need to live in the now, ladies and gentlemen. Do what's good for us right this second while we move towards that society. Don't you think you move towards that society through behavioral adaptation of even the few of us who understand that that's where we need to go, living that lifestyle and being trailblazers for the ones who come after us, rather than just giving in to, oh, well, society's fucked up. Fuck it, I guess.
Andrew, every night on my show that I do a panel, I teach these women the religious prescriptions, so they do exactly as you just
do you tell them that fundamentalism means I believe in the Bible?
But the problem is that, but the problem is most people, though, don't live a perfect life, and they can go back to that. So I have to be able to also help them, even if they're imperfect, because not everybody's perfect or can be perfect. So because of that, you have to do both. It's really crazy that Christians live in this world where it's just, you could just always, everybody could just always be perfect. Everybody needs to be over here. And if you're not virtue signaling and over here perfectly virtuous, then you're over here. And that's ridiculous. Do you also believe that heaven and hell is a place that you go after death? Do you
think that? Not hell, no.
And do you think heaven is a place that you go after death?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, some people, yeah.
Really? So heaven isn't here on earth? Heaven isn't here on earth?
No.
Hell isn't here on earth?
Well, we call it, if you're talking about the eschaton and what you would consider heaven, then no.
Crazy. Yeah, see, this is the problem with Christians today. They don't even understand Christianity. They don't even know
it sounds like one of us doesn't understand it.
No, you don't even understand heaven and hell correctly. This is pretty bad. And I would say most Christians are in the same boat.
I'll tell you what, if that's true, can you give me a single Bible passage that even references hell or heaven, even once?
No, I don't have to.
Can you give me a single Bible passage that says anything?
No, I don't have to.
No, you can't. These fucking Christians don't understand anything. You can't even give me a single quote from the Bible. The dumb Christians don't understand nothing, though.
Andrew, give me one quote about it then. Since you're
Holy
the Christian,
shit.
you should be able to give me 10, right?
Unbelievable.
Give me one on heaven.
Unbelievable.
I want to redirect. We're getting off topic in religion. Andrew can sum up his thoughts because I think Sergio made the comment last about him. But after that, let's redirect back to the initial topic, which is marriage.
Yeah, okay. So just kind of me wrapping this up on this end. And by the way, wife, get me some coffee. Sergio, you should tell your wife to get you some coffee too.
Yeah, my girl will gladly do it because I have a nice, young, beautiful girlfriend that I got after leaving my baby mother. You know,
is she there with you now to get your coffee for you?
I have a whole separate studio from my home because I'm able to afford stuff like that. I'm on multiple businesses, even though I'm a failure that came from a divorced family. You
guys are both doing it wrong. What you got to do is train your dog to get you coffee. They will never leave you. That's really, I'm winning the game right now.
I think that's fair. Train the dog.
Yeah, I will definitely be building a studio at my house soon, and I will make sure my girl comes and brings me coffee right there in the studio just for you and your tradcons to see that you can still get women to do that for you, even after you do everything the horrible way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when you have a big, beautiful, nice home, you just build a fucking studio right there. It's no big deal. But anyway, but kind of back to the topic at hand. Yes, it was a cheap shot, but okay, you seem like you're a good sport and it's all in good fun, right? So
no, I love you, Andrew. Andrew, I love you, honestly.
Okay, moving back into the topic here at hand. Now that we've established there are moral principles that we do need to operate off of, don't you think that it's conflicting for you to be giving advice which are antithetical to your own morals? I understand telling men or messaging men, giving out like a signal, like a bat signal almost, saying, look, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. It's bad that men have these high indexes of suicide rates. That's terrible. It's bad that you get fucked over in the divorce courts. That's awful. All these things are awful. But we still have to think about children, Sergio. And men do have duties. You agree that men have duties. And you also would agree that it's optimal for a man and a woman to be married when they do have these children. And that is a society that you want to live in. So shouldn't we be pushing for that more than anything else, man?
Yeah, I really want people to do it that best way, man. I really do. I really do want people to do it that best way, but some people are fuck ups like me.
So how do we get you on our side to advocate for that? How do we get you there, bro?
I like I said on my night panels, every time I tell these girls the best bet for them of a guy is a good beta bucks man that's not going to leave them, that doesn't sleep around, that doesn't have access to multiple women, and is just a good man that is never going to leave you after the child comes. I really push for everything that you push for. I really do. I give probably the
it doesn't
same
sound like it.
No, I do. The problem is that I understand, like I said, that there's people in my situation or people in shitty situations, baby mamas, also, like not even just baby daddies like me, baby mamas too, that did it wrong. And they need help to get back in line with whatever works the best for their life.
The help. You know, I really want my coffee at a perfect temperature. Okay, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I just what you need a dog for.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, it doesn't sound like you are. It sounds like you're saying that. I get one aspect of it where you're trying to kind of give a descriptor for problems. So one of the broad reasons I like talking with the red pillars and the manosphere people is I think they give excellent descriptions for issues. It's the prescription portion of it that I have an issue with. It's the prescription problem that I run into that we really have all these contentions with. So I don't have any problem with you giving descriptors of societal issues. And I think that that's God's work, right? We need more of that. But when it comes to prescriptions that favor children, favor the family, can you give those to me and what you advocate for and what type of prescriptions you're moving towards?
Yeah, so the number one point of my show is to teach women red pill truths so then they can become better too, because it's not good for just men to learn this shit. Women can learn these things too and become better also. The number one thing I teach them is to keep their legs closed. That's the number one thing, because if they don't sleep around, it forces men to become better. If women just stop tomorrow having sex with Chads and Tyrones have to get off their mom's couch and go become real men of society, okay? So I do push women to the best person that they should choose. Dr.
Do you
David
think
Bunn talks
it's
about
do
this
you
a
think
lot.
it's immoral for women to have sex outside of marriage?
I mean, the thing is, I just understand it happens. Is it immoral? I don't know if it's immoral. It's wrong. It's bad. If you said wrong and bad means immoral, then yes,
Then
I
it's
guess I
immoral?
consider it immoral.
What would you say makes it immoral? Just that they'll have worse outcomes if they do?
It's going to be harder in their future. The higher likelihood
So
of
it's going to be
having
the
to go through
outcome.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be the outcome. What about men?
Yeah, I definitely think sleeping around for men is bad as well. That's why I preach relationships. The whole point of my show being called Purple Pill Pod.
No, I get
is
it. I get it.
teach
I get
men
it.
to be
Hang
in
on.
relationships.
Before you go off on a tangent, plugging yourself again, we'll have plenty of time for that. But when you're talking about these relationship dynamics, then you agree with me that it's immoral to be having sex outside of marriage?
I understand that the way society works, this is the problem today. A lot of people don't want to be understanding. I understand that society is messed up and people, even like me, have made mistakes. And you can still come back from your mistakes.
Unless
Negativity
you're a
doesn't
woman who's
destroy
had
your life.
20, who's had a 20 body
Yes,
count.
trauma destroys women and it builds men. Trauma destroys women. This is why we've mate guard women for all of history.
Yeah,
We've always mate
but
guarded
here's the
women
thing:
for that reason.
if you made the claim like you did in your opening statement, which I have the note right here, you said that trauma builds men and builds men's character. You're saying that it does not do that for women. That trial does not do that for women.
There's there's different types of trauma we can talk about physical and crazy hardcore trauma, and then we can talk about, a guy yelling at her all the time or her father being, just a mean person or
Yeah,
something.
that's
So
not my
it's a
question though. I'm just asking, like, just direct yes or no. If you
physical
believe that
trauma, yes, it
all
destroys
trauma,
women. A woman that no, because just verbal abuse and things like that, I don't put that in the same category as physical abuse or grape. If a woman has been raped or she has gone
Mhm.
through physical abuse, that is serious trauma for a woman, and it can destroy their life, in my
Yeah, but
opinion.
I mean, if a man gets raped, it can do the same thing.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so when you're talking about then the equalization of what you consider trauma, which is character building for men, wouldn't you say is equally true for women?
No, because this is why. So a guy who goes through trauma, we've always been disposable throughout all of history. Women have always been the vulnerable sex, so we've
Mhm.
protected them, and men have always been the disposable sex. So if a man goes through trauma, there's two routes he can go. He's either going to go the route where he becomes better and he learns from that trauma and he becomes the strongest man possible, or he goes down the route where he's a piece of shit and he's horrible and he becomes the worst man possible, an addict or whatever. And if he takes that route, we don't care about those men of society. They're disposable. There's a reason why the suicide rate is as high as it is. Nobody cares about those types of men at
Yeah, but
all.
I'm not
If you're a
understanding how
traumatized
this
man,
is
you're just
tied,
disposable.
bro. I'm not understanding though how this is tied into your trauma argument of if men go through trauma, it builds character, but if women go through the same types of trauma, it doesn't build their character.
Because a woman going through the same type of physical abuse like a guy would go through, she's going to be way more. Women are emotional. Can you agree with me that men are logical and women are emotional?
I think that, yeah, for the most part, I
So when,
would tend to agree. Yeah.
so when women go through trauma, they take it more
Mhm.
in an emotional way, and it's a lot more damaging because of them being an emotional creature.
So
If
women,
the guy is logical, it doesn't hit him the same way.
so then women, generally speaking, cannot deal with trauma as well as a man can deal with trauma.
That is, yes, that is my belief. For
Okay,
sure.
so you think then that men are their characters built up by this trauma, whereas women are destroyed by similar types of trauma, which I'll even concede that this is true. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got your worldview correct. Now, moving past that, this begs the question: then shouldn't you value women in a different way? And if you value them in a different way, isn't it a male's duty then to make sure that they're not going through that kind of trauma?
Absolutely. So I speak on this a lot. Men are supposed to mate guard. All women too. Mate guarding isn't just for your spouse. Mate guarding is what fathers did for their daughters, what brothers did for their sisters. Yes, we are absolutely supposed to protect and mate guard women. Women don't want to be protected today, so that's a little thing that's stopping that from happening all the time because they want to be men also. But otherwise, no, I completely agree that we have to protect women. And the best way to do that is, I agree with you, getting married and doing all those things. Once again, we're in a post-marriage society, and that's just not happening.
So if
So
that's true, so then listen, here's how we'll just tie this up. So if that's true, and it's our job to protect women and we have a duty to do it, you are assessing that all of the power dynamics in society should move towards a patriarchal structure as the default. There's no way around that. After all, men can go through this type of trauma and women can't. Women must be protected by men because women cannot protect themselves, right? So if that's true, then overall, the analysis from you must be that men are going to be the architects and arbiters of change, right? We have to be the arbiters of change and the architects of change.
Absolutely, brother.
So if this is true, and we have to be the arbiters and architects of change, then why wouldn't we change the society in such a way as to modify the behaviors that we want to see, rather than giving into the society and allowing ourselves to become the same hedonists that you're currently preaching against?
Because two things can be true at the same time.
Oh man, you just walked
Really
yourself through the logic and still failed at the end of it.
No, it's just very simple. It's just that I can preach to these women to stop sleeping around, and at the same time, I can understand as a male that it is my best strategy to not do certain. And here's the thing: I want to get married. I truly do want to get
Then
married.
you don't
I
have a
truly do.
duty. Don't
the
you
problem
understand?
is-
Then you
but the
can't say I
problem
have
is
a duty. I have a duty to protect women, and I have a duty to change the society into what I want, but I'm going to shirk off this duty for my own personal hedonism. You either have the duty
How
or
am
you
I
don't have
doing
the
it for my own
duty.
personal how am I doing it for my own personal hedonism? Explain.
You think currently that these relationship dynamics are not optimal between men and women? You want to see these things change for the best values for men in general. I would agree with that. You want to see men have the best outcomes. I would agree with that too. What the way that you're not going to see them having the best outcomes is if you see the allowance of this type of promiscuous behavior from women, the type of women who are not getting married, who are incentivized to get divorced. All of these are kind of contrary to the outcomes that you're talking about. However, men can collectivize according to you and your logic and mine, which you just agreed with, and we can actually put a stop to these kinds of organizations on the underlying, so we don't even have to deal with the surface problems anymore. In other words, we can make legislation to get rid of no-fault divorce. We can push men into positions of power where the patriarchy can actually make these types of radical sweeping changes you want to see in society in order to limit this kind of behavior. Why wouldn't you put all of your focus on that instead of saying, I want to have my cake and eat it too? I want to guard myself and take no risk, even while at the same time, I believe that I have a duty to protect women.